Once you've chosen to walk in the door, identify 1 5-minute period in that hour where you're going to really try hard. And I say only 5 minutes. Some people would roll their eyes and be like, what's the point? Minimum viable step. If we are the women we think we are, you and I and everyone who's listening, we're going to crush it more than 5 minutes.
Yep.
But we have to turn the mindset on first. And some days you don't have it to try.
Yeah. On today's episode of Empowered in Health, I have Heather Elliott here, and Heather and I have connected through one of the business mentorships we've been in, and I adore Heather and the work she's doing related to just empowering women with this idea of cutting through self-doubt, building more self-trust, stepping into the fullest version of ourselves. And the incredible work that Heather does is just super inspiring. And I can't wait for you guys to hear her incredible expertise today. So Heather, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be able to talk to you and share all of our life experiences to help more women.
Yeah, awesome. And, Heather, one of the places I love to start is kind of learning more about where you've been and where you are now, right? Like, I know you've obviously gone through your own journey. You've experienced a lot of different things in both professional work, but also working in the gym, et cetera. And so you've worked in so many different capacities. And I would love for you to give a little bit more context around kind of what you've learned in your own journey and what's led you to the work you're doing now.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I have been in business for over 25 years, leading teams in sales and operations, as well as now in new product development. And it's in actually animal health and nutrition, but we at one point also had a human nutrition line. And my passion in nutrition led me to fitness, and that led me to coaching. And now I'm also a CrossFit and strength and conditioning coach, as well as a leader in business. And similar experiences in both ways has actually taught me just simple things to guide me in a direction of reaching my own potential, and little things that I've been able to help in my coaching as well. And so it's funny, you would never expect business and strength training to be so similar, but they are, right?
They really are.
So yeah, through my own trials and tribulations and in helping others, sort of started to figure some things out.
So good. And I know you are really passionate about blending leadership, mindset, physical training, and just kind of this all-encompassing vision of how do we really continue to empower women on their journey, and how do we really help women understand that whatever it is that we might be going through, like, it's all interconnected in some capacity. And I know that's one of the things that I'm super passionate about helping women know. To your point, from business to the gym to whatever it is that we're starting to learn about ourselves, how our bodies function, et cetera, it's all part of this larger interconnected story. And, one of the things that you have shared with me, Heather, is this idea of discomfort, and how when we're learning stuff about ourselves, we can get really uncomfortable, and it can feel like this really hard, scary process. And we don't necessarily know exactly what to do with it, but it doesn't necessarily have to be this really scary thing or this thing that makes us feel defeated in some way. Instead, it can be a signal around we're changing, we're evolving, we're growing. And I'd love for you to give more of your perspective around this, because I know you talk about this concept of moving toward discomfort, not feeling paralyzed by it, not going in the opposite direction. Like, as you're learning more about these different facets of your life and how they're interconnected, how when you get into this place of pushing out of your comfort zone, that it can actually be a really good thing. So can you share more of your perspective around this? I'd love to just pick your brain.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And really where this started was me being in a really low spot in my life, and realizing that my choices are what got me there. And it was like, okay, this is already really, really uncomfortable. And it was in regard to like trying to achieve something at work that I just kept getting told no or turned down. And I was just sort of like, one of those rams just batting. And finally I just thought, okay, what is actually happening right now? This is not working. And what was actually more uncomfortable was to go into this other direction, which is now kind of how I've achieved, so much success in my life as it is.
Yeah.
And I never even foresaw it because I was trying to go into something that was more comfortable and smaller, actually.
Yeah.
And so when I identified like the big scary thing, the thing that was signaling me at my core, was actually the thing I needed to go into that direction. So a smaller example might be like, I want to go, run a 5K, you're like, I don't run. Right. And so the fear of not running might be the thing that's holding you back.
Yeah.
But it's actually the signal that if you just go start that, it becomes something that gets bigger and builds momentum, et cetera. Right. We also have to identify the fact that we have choices. And this is the most important thing. I kind of like to say the signal is the way, but it's the freedom to know you have a choice in the situation, and being real and honest with yourself to say, okay, I am spinning my wheels and this is very uncomfortable, but I'm not really getting anywhere. If I were to pivot and go do this thing that's uncomfortable, but it's actually kind of get me in the direction of where I want to go, then I am making that choice and I am liberating myself to say, I can make this choice. That is what builds our confidence.
Yeah.
It's just one small choice at a time. Right. And so back to the 5K example, you're like, okay, well, I don't think I know how to run. It's like, well, can you walk out the door and jog to the end of the curb? So it's like, now we can take what we call the minimum viable step, the MVS, right? And you're like, okay, you can take that step. Now you have a choice. You're at the curb. What do you do?
Yep.
It's like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. Run back into the house. Well, you just ran some more, actually.
Yep. I love that. We said, what did you say? Minimal viable step?
MVS. Yeah. Yes. And that comes from my experience in software. And so in software, you always want to come out with your minimum viable product. And that tells you like all the features and all the things you're going to need so that everyone in the project knows exactly what's happening. Well, we can do that ourselves for ourselves. Yeah. And if you were the project manager of yourself, you'd say, okay, what's the minimum viable step?
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
And then you're like, well, I need shoes. Okay. You have shoes. I need some clothes, right? It's raining. I might need a hat. Okay. I'm not going to run in the rain. Okay. Well, then I'm going to wait until it's not raining. Right. But then we need to talk about signal again, but you hear how you can like really break it down. And I learned that actually from this really neat fitness study. You might have heard of it, where a trainer studied how to get people to lose 100 pounds, I think is in like 3 or 6 months. It's pretty fast. And what he did was he just asked them to arrive at the gym and they could not stay there for more than 5 minutes. Okay. That was actually their workout. Okay. So the parking lot.
Just getting there.
Literally just getting there. Parking lot, front door, walk in. You could do like 5 sit-ups, turn around and walk out. And that's the 5 minutes. Okay. They had to do that for 90 days.
Wow.
And then after that, they actually got to work. But what he did was he built that habit. Yeah. More so what he did was he built the confidence in these people that they knew actually how to arrive for themselves.
Yeah.
How uncomfortable if you're over 100 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
Would it be to just drive to a gym? Yeah. Right. Yeah. So they passed the discomfort. They leaned into that. And then they're like, okay, I checked the box. Yeah. And then, built it over time. And some of us, that is the minimum viable step. It has to take that long. Yeah. In others, it's fast. It might be 2 days. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such an interesting story. Or like just hearing more about that process of taking the steps in order to build the confidence and kind of recalling what you said, having it be this really simplified thing. Because that was kind of my next question for you was for the person that's listening to this who really wants to figure out, okay, I know that I want to create some sort of change in my life, or I know that there's things that I want to work towards, there's goals that I have, but I'm having a hard time moving towards the discomfort or figuring out like, what is my MVS? How do I actually get into this headspace of my minimal viable step? Where do I start? How do I start this? And you just explained it through this study of how it literally is starting so incredibly small that you actually can build the thing that helps you move through the uncomfortable stuff.
Yeah.
And I love
Exactly.
that. So good.
And
So good.
it transfers everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Because as soon as you're like, I'm so uncomfortable, I don't want to do this, but I know I have to do this thing. And really the anxiety of the change or the action that is needed for the change becomes bigger. And that actually becomes the more uncomfortable moment.
Yeah.
Well, if you can imagine, then you say, okay, well, what can I do right now? I have a choice.
Yep.
Just sitting here, not doing anything is actually a choice, right?
Yeah. Yep.
What I think happens to women like you and I is that it's more comfortable for us to ramrod more things in our way, right? Yep. And therefore, like I just told you, getting off a call with work 20 minutes ago, and they said, can you go, longer on the call? And I was like, I have to leave at 45, right?
Yep.
That was actually more uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
Because I want to be the person who's like, I can always do more.
Yep.
Right. I can jam it in. Right. And what did I say to you? I was like, I had to chew my cheek to say, no, I'm leaving.
Like drawing the boundary.
Yes. And it's the same discomfort to take action as it is to sit for a second and figure it out. And I think as soon as we start to realize these micro moments for ourselves and that each one we're accountable, it's our choice. And we start to sort of see the freedom in these moments throughout the day, that's where the confidence begins.
And such a good reminder. Like we have to remember how much of this is really our choice, right? And we have to be willing to choose these uncomfortable things, like you said, potentially being a boundary, potentially slowing down, potentially sitting long enough with ourselves to even recognize how is it that I feel and what is it that I need? Yeah. And I totally agree with you on this concept of it's so easy to just fill ourselves up with all the things and put everything on the schedule and care for all of the people and get to all of the meetings and just feel totally buried and not really connected to, but wait a minute, like, am I even aware of who I am, what I need, what I want, what fills my cup? It's so easy for us to get into that habit, especially as busy, high achieving women who want to do all the things and want to serve all the people. And so I just appreciate you sharing that, Heather, because it's very real for women.
It is. And it's a very lonely place.
Yeah.
That's where I was at my worst. And when I started to realize these things, it was the day I told myself, you put yourself here.
Yeah.
Like that was when I said, okay, I actually made a ton of choices that landed in this spot. And I hate who I am in this spot right now. Like, on paper, it looked like a great life. I'm not, and it is, don't get me wrong, but it was not fulfilling. And I was definitely not reaching my fullest potential.
Yeah. And I just, like I said, I feel like that's so relatable for women. And I know I had a very similar wake-up call where I just felt like this is not I've made a lot of decisions for where I am now, and this is not feeling aligned with what I feel like I really want to do or how I really want to show up or how I really want to serve, whatever, insert blank. And so again, I just appreciate you sharing that because it's so relatable for us. Yeah. And I know one of the things you talk about a lot, Heather, that you've shared with me is this idea of your future begins in your mind's eye. And the power of vision and identity is how you actually move into creating real change. And at the same time, I think, this is hard for women to figure out like who am I, where am I going, what matters to me? And, I know you say that one of the number one reasons women get stuck is not because of lack of discipline, but more so because they haven't necessarily defined who they're becoming or they're not aware enough of who they want to become. And they're not connected enough to like who they really are. And again, what fills their cup. So I'm curious in your perspective as we kind of visit this topic, why do you think so many women struggle to define who they're becoming? Where does that come from? And what is the hurdle?
Yeah, two major areas that I think are a factor there is one, she's defining who she is by the rearview mirror, right? She's looking at the past and trying to get back to something. And the second one is she's trying to be the identity from someone else's lens.
Yeah.
And that was the trap I fell into. It was sitting around waiting for permission sitting around waiting for somebody to tell me that this is who you are, or good job for being so and so.
Yep.
And if I didn't hear it, I spiraled.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then I stacked more on my plate, right? And so again, it's kind of first is asking, which direction is it coming from? This lack of connection to our own identity. Is it because it's identifying as someone we were before, or is it, through, mom or dad or boss or husband or coach or whoever, right?
Yeah.
And once that question is sort of answered, and it's a tough one.
Yeah. Yep.
The next step is name who she is.
Yeah.
That you are going towards. And that's the vision, in the power of connecting with your future self is in your mind's eye. My favorite saying, and I think I have to thank Oprah for this, is to say, whatever follows I am will be. Whatever follows what I am will be. So if we are attached to who she was before, then you're going to keep getting who you were before. Yep. Or if you're waiting for the validation from others, then you're never going to understand who you are because they're telling you who you are, right?
Yep.
But if we are identifying as, who I am in 2 months from now, in 2 years from now, and we say that to ourselves, I am the type of person who, then it happens for us. And not to get into the weeds on manifesting and all that fun stuff, because I'm no expert there, but I have a few like real life scenarios where this really, really helped me and grounded myself in being able to do the work. The first was my husband and I technically built our house again. Yeah. And it took 2 years, 2 months, and 3 days.
Wow.
Okay. And we lived on property. We lived in a trailer with our 2 kids. I have teenagers and our 2 dogs and our cat. Yeah. And it was a long road. It was a really long road. And I had to do this work for months because it was safer to attach to who I was living in a house that was falling apart.
Yeah.
And it was terrifying to picture myself in my new kitchen that was hundreds of thousands of dollars and months, what ended up being years away. Yeah. But once I did, and once I could imagine that, and I set the scene, I was like, my son is going to be in the kitchen asking me what's for dinner. My daughter's going to come around the corner in the hallway and I'm going to be pouring a cup of coffee and she's going to be freaking out about something with her friends. And I just created this whole, and I'm the type of mom who's going to be able to turn to them and say, and I just imagined the house. And I'm standing in the house, right? And I did this over and over again. Like, bank called, needs another payment. Okay. Here, I'm in the house making the payment, right? Instead of being, in a trailer, in a barn, where my clothes are hanging out in the driveway, right? I just kept saying, I am the type of person who can pay the bank on time so that I can get to the house, right? So that is one really big, long example where, it really did work in a big, 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 big way.
I love that story. You're speaking to the power of really building a vision for where you're going. And I want to recall something that I think is really important for women to hear, which is this concept of living in the rear view, like with the rear view mirror vision, right? Like constantly looking backwards. And I know as a health coach, I hear this all the time about, well, when I was 30, this is what worked. Or before I had babies, this is exactly what I looked like. And that's what I want to be again. Right. Yeah. And I think one of the most powerful narratives that women need to adopt more than anything is we're not meant to go back. We're not going back anywhere. We're evolving into the future that we deserve or that we want or that we're headed towards or that we're envisioning. And the best way to do that is through a lot of this mindset work and vision building that you're describing. And I know that can be really scary, hard work to choose, especially when you're in a hard season, but you're speaking to how transformative it can be if you actually make the choice to go there. And so I love that story, Heather. So good.
Yeah. And in fitness or trying, the body aspect of it, something that really helped me was to understand that it's twofold. Like one, we loved our 15 or 20 or 30-year-old self because we got there with little to no effort.
Yeah. Yep.
That's why. Because it was this moment when something clicked in our heart or our soul and was validated, and you were like, that was nothing. And we latch onto that memory and we're like, yeah, we could do it again because we did it once and it took nothing. But that's just not how life works, right? And so the real fulfillment comes from when, if you want to try to do that again or realize something similar, but this time you have to go through a real process. Or you have to actually handle adversity. And so I like to say, like, okay, great. Like, you are at the top of the mountain. Good for you. Like the metaphorical mountain. It works in fitness. It works in health. It works in business. But you got there and you saw it and you saw what the skyline looked like and you saw the beautiful nature and the views around you. Great. You want to get there again. Okay. So I am the type of person who can climb the mountain. We start there. But the second thing is, I'm the type of person who goes by a bush that cuts my leg. And now I'm bleeding. And I'm the type of person who keeps going. And now we're in a steep incline and it's just rocks and our lungs are burning and our legs feel like jello. I'm the type of person who climbs the rocks and handles the steep incline. Okay. And we keep going. And now you can feel that vision is different than that person in the rearview mirror who got there just skipping up the mountain.
Just skipping up the mountain.
Right? She just skipped up. Like she just woke up at the top of the mountain.
Oh my gosh.
And so for us today as women in our 40s, we are the type of women who can handle a cut on the leg, can handle the lungs feeling like they are bleeding, right? Can handle the jello nature of our whole body, that we can't feel like we can't take one more step, but it's right there. So we're going to take one more step. And then at the top with our hands on our knees, huffing and puffing, we're going to see that same beautiful skyline. We're going to see that same beautiful view. And that is the difference between using the rear view mirror as your vision for your future self and actually saying the I am work, right? And so how to take that and put it with the choices work that we were talking about a minute ago. There's this amazing exercise that I learned a long time ago in journaling. So any of you out there who love to journal, try this. You do a 3-part prompt for yourself. It was great when, and you write out like 1 to 3, 5 things. It was great when. It could be yesterday, right? It could be this morning. It is great that. So there's your gratitude practice, right? And then it will be great when. And we do that 3-parter. And if you do that enough times, the magic, the guy who told me about it, he said he did it 100 straight days.
Wow.
But he found everything that he put in the I will be, it will be great when happened.
Wow.
Okay, so now what we've done is we've envisioned the right version of our future self, the one who goes through the journey. And now we've taken the choices piece and we've practiced it daily.
So good.
Right?
I love that. Yeah. What a good exercise. And a good reminder on like the different buckets to kind of work through when it comes to vision exercises and the importance of making sure you're staying grounded in gratitude, because I think so often we miss this, right? We're hemming and hawing about mistakes we made, or we're caught feeling like we're falling short because we haven't reached goals yet, instead of just saying like, I need to sit in gratitude also to make sure that I hold on to solid perspective as I'm moving towards where I want to go or what I'm envisioning for my life. And so that is such a cool exercise. I love that. Heather, one of the things I'm thinking about right now is the woman that's listening to this who maybe feels like she struggles on the worth side. Like she struggles with this idea of like, maybe I'm not worthy of change. Maybe I'm not worthy of envisioning this kind of specific life or goal, right? Maybe I'm struggling because of something that's happened before that I'm still carrying with me. And I'm trying to figure out like, how do I actually get to these places of visioning more for or creating more of a vision for my life, or pushing through the discomfort because I'm just like struggling more internally with some of that internal soundtrack / self-worth narrative, which I know, again, a lot of women struggle with this. I have struggled with this, and I know it could be something that holds us stuck and keeps us in this place of not really stepping into who we deserve and stepping into who we're becoming. So talk to the woman that's maybe struggling with that. Like if you've ever experienced this, or if you've talked to someone else who maybe experiences this level of like, I just don't know if I'm worthy for what I want. What would you say to them? We'll get back to our conversation shortly after this message. If you are an overwhelmed and completely confused mom who just wants a simplified, easy to follow, and understandable plan when it comes to their health and wellness journey, then you're in the right place. As a wellness coach, I focus most on empowering women to follow a highly personalized and bio-individual plan that actually gets you results and that feels sustainable for your longevity. I'd love to invite you to set up a free coaching call to talk about your health and wellness journey. Head to erinshreer.com/coaching to set up your call today. Again, that URL is erinshreer.com/coaching to set up your call. And to make it even easier, head to the show notes of this podcast and click free coaching session to set up your call ASAP. Now let's dive back into the conversation.
Well, first and foremost, everybody says it to themselves at some point, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what was comforting for me to hear the first time I think I ever admitted it out loud, and is to know that we all experience it. You are perfectly normal. And for whatever reason, that feels good to hear.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say is going back to what we were talking about, leaning into the discomfort. That narrative is more comfortable for you than telling yourself you're valuable.
Yep.
And that's the signal. That's the choice.
Yep.
So going back, it's not, do I have shoes on? It's literally sitting there and telling yourself for a day, I'm valuable enough to be the person who.
Yeah.
And that becomes the new narrative. Now, it doesn't mean that the gremlin doesn't go away completely. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be there. But then we have to ask ourselves, like, if it's always there and it's in everybody, then why do some people get to rise above and others don't?
Yeah.
It's just because they did the work. That's all. Yeah. There's no difference between them and you. And I think that also made it a little bit more comfortable to me as well. And, you know, maybe it's the optimist in me, but I realized, like, hey, we're all built with the same toolkit. Yeah. So let's use it, you know, and we're all beautiful creatures. Like every single person has something unique and something amazing to bring to this world, whether it's for yourself or your family or your community or, you know, whatever. I mean, I just recently saw on a podcast with the Diary of a CEO, a neuroscientist, and she was describing something that blew my mind as women. Okay. So we're born with like hundreds of thousands of eggs.
Yeah.
And we release tens of thousands of them in our lifetime. Yeah. And I have 2 kids. How many kids do you have?
I have 4 kids.
You have 4 kids. So our 2 or 4 out of hundreds of thousands actually turned into humans. Yeah. So life in itself, like your life, my life, everyone who's listening, your life is so spectacular. Yeah. It's a miracle. Yeah. You know, because look at how many eggs don't turn into humans. Yeah. Yep. Right. So true. So, you know, I just think like, well, while I'm here, I might as well try and do something with it.
Yes. Yes. And a good, like, just a really important reminder on remembering the preciousness of what we have in this life and not getting so buried by everything and everyone and all the things around us. And instead, like, choosing to get really intentional with what are the choices we want to make? What is the value I feel like I want to add into the world? Like, where am I feeling called to serve and make an impact? What does that look like? And most importantly, how am I making sure that I feel good and I'm protecting my peace and caring for my health along the journey of that? Because if we aren't, we really truly are missing the entire point. And the gift, like you said, the miracle of us even being here And I just appreciate you calling that to attention, because that's something we have to be reminded of. I think it's so easy to totally take for granted what it is that we have and how everything can be changed in an instant. And none of us know when that's going to happen. And to your point, we have to be maximizing and doing the best we can to step into who we really feel like we're being called to be, or the vision that we feel like is somewhere stirring in us, remembering that it's not there for no reason. Like it's literally there for some sort of reason. And, Heather, I know like one of the other pieces to your incredible expertise and like the work you do is kind of more on the physical side. Like you're a CrossFit coach, you work in the gym, like you help people with a lot of different pieces to both physical health, the mindset side. How does that translate into leadership? Like, what does this look like for your life? And I know one of the things you've also shared with me too, is this idea of how strength training and building your strength and building muscle impacts so much more than just your body. It's a huge part of your mindset and your mental strength. And that translates again into things like confidence and working on your mindset soundtracks and like showing up the way you deserve. But I would love to hear kind of more of your firsthand experience around how you have seen things that happen in the gym, building your physical strength, translate into so many more areas of your life and what that really looks like.
Yeah, thank you. It's so interesting, because if you had asked me 20 years ago if I was going to be a strength, Olympic lifting coach, I would have laughed at you. I was a horse girl. So, I was like, I'm sorry, I've never lifted a barbell in my life. So first and foremost, I think everybody needs to know that about me. Two things that got me in the direction of fitness that I'm in now is when I was like 6 or 8 years old, I got kicked out of, and I'm sure it wasn't kicked out. Like the coach leader probably just pulled my mom inside and said, it's probably best if she didn't come back, and it was this gymnastics program that I really wanted to do. And I wasn't bendy enough, I guess. And then, high school gym, and I was the high school teenager that stood on the side and watched everyone lifting the weights and was like, that doesn't look like it's for me, So I found fitness very late in my life, but I was a horse person and my athlete was my horse. Okay. So I understood technique and movement and how to properly condition a body. It just wasn't my body. So I got into running because I really wanted to have a better body image, actually. And that turned into me finding the CrossFit and strength functional fitness aspect of it to see if there was a way I could get a little bit faster at running, because I was a really average runner, still am. And what I learned was that a lot of who we are is exposed in these gym environments. And a lot of it is because the barbell is really just asked to go up.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's this static object and you're like, all right, just got to pick it up.
Yeah.
And there's so much technique and empathy and integrity and humility required to do that and to do it well. And the other piece is connecting business with the gym is you have to bring an open mind.
Yep.
If you're too results oriented, if you're too latched onto the identity of a thing, it will stunt your progress.
Yes.
With that lift or with your time or in leadership or in business with your career. Yeah. And that's being able to step back, ask questions, receive feedback, do all the pieces that, anyone who's an open mindset guru, right? Growth mindset, that they would tell you to do. And in 5 minutes in the gym, you can see real quick where you're at, Oh
yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I know one of the things I know you do in your gym is this idea of challenges and helping people really just dig inward and build self-trust and build confidence. And to your point, like keep such an open mind that they almost start to shock themselves, I'm sure, with what they're capable of and really pushing beyond what they've maybe put themselves in a box around. Yeah. And so I'd love for you to share a little bit more about what these challenges look like. And again, kind of what you've seen this do for transformation for people from an inside out health standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where a gym challenge or a health challenge in general is where you can really take all the pieces we've talked about and put it into play for a specific period of time, and whichever one is going to be your biggest weakness is the one you're going to be exposed to. And that's where you can apply, the discomfort theory and making choices and things like that.
Yep.
But what we've seen, and this was fascinating, this was before AI, but thanks to the ability to collect a lot of data, in 2024, we found that those who just came to class on a regular basis had 150% better compliance with their diet. Wow. They had like 90% better compliance with the lifestyle skill that they wanted to focus on. Yeah. And overall, their mood scores were over 30% higher on a day-to-day basis. Wow. So just showing up to your community-based fitness event, whether it's your yoga class or your Pilates class or your running group or your CrossFit gym or whatever, but huddling up with a group of like-minded people for 1 hour and doing the thing that, allows you to check the box that you did the fitness piece for that day is going to drive all your decisions for the rest of the challenge. Yeah. And so I always had it the other way around. I always thought it was nutrition first. Nutrition is my background. Yeah. It's also an area that I feel like if you eat well, you feel well, all these things. But as you know, it's really hard to change eating behaviors. Yeah. And especially when like pressed under the clock. So it wasn't until we saw this data that we realized, oh my gosh, it's not the food. It's the community and the fitness event that drives the other decisions, right? And then they stick because we go back to the choices and the confidence factor. Yeah. When you build confidence through choices like, I went to the gym and so I'm going to eat well because I don't want to ruin what I already did today. Now, the person in your rearview mirror is a person who does these things, right? Yeah. So we also evolve that rearview version of ourselves at the same time. Yeah. And then at the end of the challenge, we now have a person who is looking in the rearview mirror differently, looking ahead differently. And that's when the great recipes that you ate during the challenge stick and become part of your I don't know what I'm doing for Tuesday night dinner. Or now you have a community of people that keep going together at the gym and you keep talking about it and you like have new goals and things, right? Yeah. So number one is just showing up. And then another coach that I follow and have great admiration for, I've gotten to work with a couple of times. She taught me second is the effort. So once you've chosen to walk in the door, identify 1 5-minute period in that hour where you're going to really try hard. Yep. Okay. And I say only 5 minutes. Some people would roll their eyes and be like, what's the point? Go back to that dude, right? Yep. Minimum viable step. If we are the women we think we are, you and I and everyone who's listening, we're going to crush it more than 5 minutes. Yep. But we have to turn the mindset on first. Yep. And some days you don't have it to try. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So if we can just say, okay. What are we doing today? All right. I'm going to make sure that when I, say you're on a run. Okay. When we get to this hill, that's when I'm going to give it. Or I'm in my CrossFit class and I'm like, when we get to the burpees, I hate burpees, whatever. That's when I'm going to do it. Right. Yeah. And that's my 5 minutes. And if that's all I do today, I'm checking the box. I did it. You're going to be skipping out of there on your way to making the best spinach green protein smoothie of the day, and like everything just clicks into place. Yeah. So, the number one thing, show up. Number two, a little bit of effort, right? You're going to give more than you even claim, but intentionally make some. And then the rest kind of follows.
The thing that I appreciate most about what you're sharing, Heather, is how all of these things can start in such a small capacity. Yeah. Like from creating the vision to making the choices to, trying to work towards a goal. Maybe that's a physical health goal, whatever. It's all of these simple micro steps and how that is where anything starts. And I think for women, like, we have to be reminded of this over and over and over, because it's so simple to get so inundated with this idea of, well, we have to overhaul all the things, or it's this huge, ridiculous commitment that I can't fit into my schedule or whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be that way. Like, we can make the choice to see that it can be small, and that once we make the small choices over and over and over, that's what compounds into where we're going and the choices we're making and the changes we're after and all the things. And so I just appreciate that, because it's just such an important thing we have to remember, because it doesn't have to be this huge, overwhelming process, you know?
And it shouldn't, you know, that's the thing, is like, if it becomes a huge, overwhelming process, then that's when it suddenly becomes a thing we're not willing to do. Yeah. And if we're not willing to do it, then you don't get to become the person that you're envisioning who you want to become. So, you know, the funny thing I've learned in the last 10 years is it's actually more attractive to have the scratch on your leg from the bush. Yeah. And come out with a funny story and ability to talk about that at the next dinner party. Right. Or, you know, like how you hurtled yourself over the big boulder that you didn't see, it wasn't on the map, you know, but can I tell you about how I got over that boulder? That was amazing. You know, now I'm going to become a rock climber. I didn't even know I wanted to be a rock climber. Right. And so it's less about the woman who you are standing on top of the mountain and more about who you were during the journey and you know, how much fun did we have and can we laugh about it later and that kind of thing. I just was talking to somebody at work and this story just popped into my head, but she was stressed out about me making a meeting, and she was like in Australia. And she had never been to Australia, and she had a rental car, and she was like, and so I'm driving and I'm late and I'm in this foreign country, and suddenly a kangaroo pops out, and she's like, I almost hit a kangaroo with a rental car. And I was like, I kind of wish you did, because that would be hysterical. Oh my God. You know, I mean, could you imagine? But like when she landed in Australia for this big work event, do you think she thought to herself, like, I really hope I can tell a story about almost hitting a kangaroo in a rental car? No, like she was thinking about the meeting and whatever the thing, but we don't remember that, right? Yeah. Like, you know, the meetings start to run together, and the day-to-day minutia decisions, you know, we forget them. But what we remember are, you know, the events that painted the journey special to be like nothing we've ever done before. So do it.
Do it. And the really unexpected stuff. Like that just we could have never predicted, but somehow happened, and somehow we figured out how to navigate through. Right. Yeah. And just, again, it's such a good reminder on the importance of really being open-minded. And I know you talked about that, and this idea of like when we're painting the vision, or when we're choosing to show up, or when we're making these choices, one of the best gifts we can give ourselves is just really truly being open-minded and learning to kind of roll with how things are going and making the choice around just learning along the way, because that's really what it's all about, right? Yeah. Heather, will you quickly share before we kind of wrap up how people can find you, how they can connect more to the work you're doing, and just learn more about just the amazing impact you're making in the world?
Yes. So I'm on LinkedIn, Heather Elliott, and I'm also available by email. So please feel free to reach out to me, heather@innovationleadership.io. And, or through you, Erin, please, you know, like I love to connect, and I have a, you know, quick little guide that I can share if anyone's interested on a lot of the things we talked about for free for anyone who's listening. And, so please reach out, like we're here to help. And, there's no reason why anyone should fall into the same traps you and I have, right? That's why we're here to help. But what has to happen sometimes is trip so that we can learn how not to do that again, right? Yes. Or maybe just figure out how to make it a funny story. And that's what we're here for too. And I think that's most important, is like we as women, I think, are trying to avoid the mistakes other people make because like it's not supposed to happen. But you and I are here to help each other through the mistakes, right?
Yeah. 100%. And Heather, I can't thank you enough for just your incredible expertise. You know, I am so passionate about, you know, educating women about all of these facets of health and mindset and vision and stepping into who you're becoming and learning the power of showing up for yourself so you can build confidence and build self-trust. And really what that process looks like, which you've broken down and helped us understand, can be really small, tangible actions every single day. And that's the kind of message I want women to take away from this, because when it comes to changing your life or really stepping into what you deserve, like that's really what it is. It's these small choices that we make over time and, relating to other women through their stories, through what they've been through, so we can all continue to learn together. So Heather, thank you again for just an incredible conversation. I'm so grateful for you.
You too. Thank you so much.
Sure thing, friend. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I know balancing time and energy can be a challenge, and I'm so proud of you for listening in and investing in your wellness journey. I feel incredibly grateful to connect with you and for the opportunity to share more knowledge, stories, and encouragement related to all things wellness. I would love to hear how this podcast has served you. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review on either iTunes or Spotify. Your support truly means the world to me and helps me reach more women just like you and me who are looking to transform their health from the inside out. Plus, when you share this episode with a friend, we invite more women in to learn alongside us. What a gift. Remember, knowledge is power, and the more we know, the better we can do. For ourselves, for our families, and our future. Well done on taking the step towards a healthier, happier you. Until next week, stay empowered and stay well.